This is Paul Wood at Twistle Stick meets Brook Calverley and Doug Hewett, founders and managing partners at PeopleMade. Hi guys, how are you getting on?
Yeah, good. Thanks for inviting us.
No problem. So can you kick off with a bit about your career highlights to date?
Well, Brooke and I worked together at a place called Engage Group, so that's where we first kind of met. You know, I was working very much in the strategy and creative side, and Brooke working on strategy and digital. We did a lot of pitching together, didn't we, back then?
Yeah, good, yeah.
And then after that, we kind of went our separate ways, actually. So I went on to Interbrand, and
I was after calling brands. We sort of took separate spaces. I think that one of the things at Engage Group, we both saw that we really wanted to kind of like deepen out our kind of knowledge and understanding of brand. And I think that was been a moment where we could have ended up carrying on in our separate ways as well. But we kept talking, and we kept sort of plotting and thinking about what we might do, and eventually sort of like came back together again.
And I think in the end, you know, it was kind of an opportunity, but also a frustration. So the frustration was that, you know, we couldn't really see anyone else out there who was focusing on this kind of brand engagement piece, culture, people, and really approaching brands in the right kind of way. That's kind of the challenger kind of stance that we had. And then in terms of the opportunity, you know, we met the guys from Amplify, and it was a wonderful opportunity to get together. They shared exactly what we were trying to do. And, you know, so together as a joint venture, and we kind of kicked off from there.
Moving swiftly on to PeopleMade, can you tell us a little bit about PeopleMade and what it's all about?
I think it's defined by a big idea that we had really early on, which was a simple idea, but I think it's an important one to us, and it's that the brand is what the brand does.
Yeah.
And we increasingly found ourselves frustrated that brand consultancies, great as they were doing the job of defining and packaging and working out what a brand stood for, but weren't able to go and actually make that brand meaningful and land and happen and embed within the organisation. And that's really what we started off originally, you know, in the early days to do, to kind of focus on brand culture, to take that brand idea, those brand values, and make them real inside the organisation. And I think that's what we became quite well known for in that first year or so. But I think as time's gone on, what we found is that almost moving upstream from that, we've been doing a lot more of the brand strategy. And brand purpose, and also kind of down from that, once the brand is defined and embedded within the organisation, within its culture, doing a lot then around the brand expressions, both the creative and also the sort of brand experience too. So we've kind of been fortunate enough to take that whole kind of almost end to end of helping to kind of shape and define what a brand stands for, and then make that sort of meaningful within the organisation, translate that into a brand culture that informs everything that the organisation does, and then in itself then leads on naturally to the kind of the brand experience, the brand expression that comes out.
I think we've got a whole group of people as well that have come from big global branding consultancies, and I think that everyone shares the same thing, which is that we love fixing the wrongs of, you know, other pieces, and I think this is just a wonderful opportunity for all of us to build something new.
And in terms of your career to date, I'm sure you've been given lots of advice along the way. What's the best piece of career advice you've been given?
You know what? I've never been given any decent career advice. I was given some lousy career advice at school, and it hasn't really ever got much better since then. I did this like really lengthy interview and this big online thing, and was waiting to be kind of excited by what the future held for me, and was told that I would be a really great fast food restaurant manager. So that was a bit of a downer for me. Okay. You got something a bit more exciting though, didn't you?
I was going to say I had a mentor. I won't embarrass by naming them, but I had a mentor who I was asking for advice. You know, kind of in between jobs actually, I remember, and it's always stuck with me that he said, you know, go make a few dents in the world, you know, kick a few kind of tyres and make a few dents. And I thought, actually, I've always thought of that whenever I've been in a position where I could make that decision, be a bit challenging or not. I've kind of heard that voice and given it a go, so that's stayed with me.
That explains a lot.
It's his fault.
In terms of inspirational people you've worked with or worked for, what's been the biggest inspiration of your career to date?
It's going to sound quite cheesy, but I think I don't know. For me, I think our team. Right now, I've never worked with anybody better, smarter, more committed, more creative. It is a really fabulous bunch of people.
I think we've worked with, I mean, our team is kind of a collection of different people from past places that we've worked, or kind of, you know, and what I find so amazing about that is we're actually at the point now where people are joining us who, you know, they've got some fantastic opportunities, and we're one of those, and they've chosen to join us. And I think that actually is something that has really taken us aback, you know.
It's massively humbling.
So yeah, definitely, I'd say the team, 100%.
Yeah.
Biggest creative brief, or the biggest brief you've had the chance to work on to date? What has it been?
I think not necessarily, you know, I mean, it's best, but also I think in a way the biggest. I think you've got to say it's the first one. For us, you know, starting up was always such an adventure, such a risk. It's loaded with all those different moments, but the first brief you have, you know, you just want to absolutely knock it out of the park. So I think, yeah, that's probably going back to Converse.
Yeah,
probably.
and how cool was that? I mean, we had no idea what kind of brands we would be lucky enough to work with, and for the very first one to be Converse, which is a brand we both loved and was cool, and yeah, that was great, and I think it really set the tone for a lot of the work that we did afterwards, to be honest. So important on so many different levels. The one I would just chuck in is that it's a brief that's come to us very recently, and we've just started working on it. It's an iconic London department store. I can't say which one it is, but it's a cool brand, and we've been invited to define the whole new service experience that brand delivers to its people, work a way of, like, you know, translating its brand and making that real, making that physical, and then also planning all of the kind of transformation work that needs to go on within the culture, within the people there to kind of deliver it. So that's kind of, it's got brand, it's got experience, it's got culture, all of the things that we're excited about for a big London luxury retailer. So yeah, that's a job that's got a lot of kind of, yeah, a lot of interesting little points to it.
And if you were summarising the current state of the creative industry?
I'd say it's pretty good. I think we're very lucky, really. Sometimes we don't realise it, but I think being in London, you know, we're just at the centre of all things creative, and things almost seem to happen naturally. You don't even realise why or how they're happening, but we work with a lot of luxury brands, Stella McCartney, Alexander McQueen. We've been lucky enough to work with also like kind of Myla and people like that. So, you know, we have seen, I think, firsthand creative from the kind of brand point of view just be growing and kind of rapidly changing. But also I think from an industry point of view, there's such fantastic talent here. So I think we should be really, really proud of not just London, but the kind of industry in general. I think, you know, really things are changing in a very, very positive way.
Yeah, it's super dynamic. I mean, I think the one for me that I see is diversity. You know, whereas I think before you'd be very clearly be able to kind of like the ad agencies, the brand agencies, the comms agencies, you know, like amplify the experience guys. Whereas now I think there's a lot of agencies who've got a very distinctive point of view about how they do their work, and they're famous for that. Lots of agencies that are kind of crossing over between different things. And to a degree, I think a little bit like us, perhaps, you know, shops that are sort of creating a new space that really wasn't occupied by anybody that long ago. So yeah, I think that's really exciting. It might be slightly bewildering for the client, I guess. It's probably harder to navigate for those guys, but I think to work in it, it's very, very creative, very inspiring.
I'm really positive about it. Yeah.
If
you could speak to a younger Brook and a younger Doug leaving uni or earlier in their career, what advice would you give to them?
I'll go
first. You know, it's a real simple one. I would say just do a better job of keeping in touch with people. You know, as I've gone further on in my career, I realised how important it's like network's a really horrible word. It's not like the network, it's the people around you, the people you know, the people you've met. And I think almost all of our successes have come from the people we've been lucky enough to work with and the people that we've known. And yeah, I did a lousy job. I hardly know anybody that I met up until about 2006. So yeah, I would say to Brook.
You kept in touch.
I kept in touch with Doug, and look how well that worked out.
In a really lousy way.
I was poor.
I would say, you know, I think it takes a lot of time to get confident with yourself, especially in your career.
Yeah.
And that goes for life too, right? But I think my main thing would be to go back and say, trust your judgment, go with it if it feels right. And if it's something you do, I think living with integrity is really important. And I think in your career, as much as anything else, you've got to trust your gut feel and you've got to really go with it. But it's hard to hear that sometimes, you think other stuff comes in, other people kind of sway you in a different direction. But if you stick true to what it sounds cheesy, but if you stick true to what you believe, you can't go too far wrong.
What have you been inspired by recently, or what have you seen that's inspired you?
Shall I go first?
Go on.
Well, we're very lucky, actually. We work with so many different brands, and one of them is Stella McCartney. I was inspired by her approach and by everyone else, actually, at the company there, because I think that they have a fantastic culture where mothers, particularly mothers, I think, are kind of celebrated and kind of rewarded for being the fantastic kind of businesswomen, that they are. And I think that's amazing that you can find, I've recently had a baby, so I know how difficult that is for mothers. And I think that's amazing to see women back into work, but at the top of their game and being given that kind of freedom and flexibility, but also just delivering and absolutely at the highest level. So that's quite inspiring, I would say, for me.
Yeah, that's a really good answer. I don't have anything nearly as good as that. I'm going to do that as well. And I think we talked already. If I honestly on the day-to-day, I think the things that really sort of jump out are just great ideas and great work that's coming out of some of the guys we work with. They blow us away all the time.
I think we've said that before, but it's genuine. I think every single day we have someone in the team who would be saying, look, let's do this, let's start a new way of doing something like coaching, or let's change totally the way that we do our inductions, or do you know what, let's get organised and kind of find a whole new way of approaching the way we manage clients. And I think those things just blow you away when they come from individuals who care so passionately about something. So
yeah, almost all of the kind of interesting things that we do as a business kind of had their genesis in an idea that one of the team had. I think about all the little things that we've become well known for. They've all been invented by the guys. So.
And if you were in the industry, what do you think you would be doing?
This is an easy one for me, because I remember doing one of those kind of computer game type of things at school, and you had to fill in all the different details, and out spits the kind of your kind of ideal job, And I got trainer designer, which back then I thought, that is absolutely brilliant. That's exactly what I should do. So going back to the point you mentioned before about trusting your judgment, well, I didn't. I thought, right, I've got to do something proper and not that. But actually, I would have loved to have been that. So that's probably my answer.
That's a killer. You know what? Because I think that thing that you did that spat out the answer trainer designer was exactly the thing that I did that spat out the answer, be a manager of a fast food restaurant. So I think if I wasn't doing this, the thing that I really wanted to do as a kid was be an architect. Okay. I think that kind of that logic and creativity sort of combination, that kind of science and art, I think that got me quite excited. I'd like to think I would be an architect. I probably wouldn't, because my maths isn't great, but that's what I'd have shot for.
Apart from brands you've already worked on, is there any brands you'd love to have a crack at?
I think we should be doing a little bit more of. I remember at my previous agency did a lot of work with IHG, the big hotel group, and I was always thinking that would be a good space for us. We don't really do much in the leisure industry, but that kind of, the importance of the experience and the way in which it differentiates one place from another, and the importance of the kind of promise. And also, it's kind of it's a sector that seems really busy right now. I see loads of new hotel chains starting up in London. A lot of the private members clubs are starting to have kind of strong hospitality and sort of room offer as well. So I wouldn't mind doing something in that kind of space.
I think for me, it's we definitely set our stall out from the beginning, saying this is the kind of kind of way that we believe brands are and brands are made now. Yeah. So that kind of attracts a certain kind of client, and more often than not, they're very open, very transparent, quite genuine, authentic brands. And I guess you either have a brand that is that, and we want to work with them, or a brand that isn't that, and we would love to work with them, because I think there's a lot to do.
Fix them.
Kind of either way, I feel like they're the kind of brands that, yeah, seem most attractive, I guess.
Funny, almost awkward pitch that you've worked on, without naming any names or incriminating yourselves?
Oh, we've got an absolute cracker for this one.
You don't have to mention any names though.
Oh, we better not mention any names.
They'll know.
So we once had a pitch where everything was going fantastically well.
Yeah.
And you know, we thought this is great. We'd probably walk away from here and feel happy that this pitch has gone down well. And the client actually stopped us, you know, right in our tracks and said, "Will you give us 10 minutes? We can decide whether we want to work with you or not."
Yeah.
Came back in and then said, "Well, we're going to give you another 5 minutes now, and you can decide what your best price is. And then once you're done, we're going to come back in. We're either going to work together or not." So I felt a bit like we were on Dragon's Den or something like that.
That was weird. Never have I ever in my career have I ever had anything like that.
But you know
crazy.
what? They're the best client, and we still work with them. We still work with them. We still work with them, and they're absolutely fantastic. And actually, that set the tone for everything. I think the way they treated us was so fair and so clear and so honest. So yeah, it was a crazy experience at the beginning, but I'm really glad of it.
Yeah, very Dragon's Den. Yeah, crazy.
And if you had a magic wand, or if I had a magic wand, I gave it to you to grant you a wish about the industry, you could change anything, what would you like to change?
Actually, you know what, mine is a little bit informed by that story, because I think what was great there was that although it was a bit crazy to be kind of having to sort of, you know, dream up a budget there and then and get it all signed off in one go, it was really succinct, it was really to the point. And I think sometimes there's a danger where a lot of agencies expend a lot of time and energy, you know, whether it's through pitch work or in speculative work, and it doesn't get used, it gets wasted, you know, and it's the inherent wastefulness of that, I think, really upsets me. So I think if I was to wave my wand and do one thing, it would be maybe, you know, kind of narrow the number of agencies that clients go to. You know, when they're looking for pitch work, go and speak to 2 or 3. You know, make sure the brief is really clear. Make sure that whatever value you get out of those agencies gets used. You know, it doesn't get wasted.
Yeah, I guess mine's less of a kind of change and more of a more of, if that makes sense. Because I think that, you know, we work with so many fantastic partners, whether that's kind of filmmakers or if that's other designers or kind of specialists and photographers, and you know, I think that the days of having everything under one roof, you know, the full service agency, and I think those days, it's changed so much now that you've got so many fantastic individuals or fantastic kind of smaller agencies that can work in collaboration. So if I could wave a magic wand, I'd just say to the client, look, just see us for what we are, which is a collection of fantastic individual groups and communities. And the more that I think as an industry we can work like that, I think the stronger everyone will be. So.
Moving on to the quick fire round. Favourite current brands?
I like Selfridges.
All-time fave?
I'm going to go with McLaren F1.
Orange for me.
Double espresso or green tea?
Definitely espresso.
Espresso AM, green tea PM.
No, always double espresso.
Brightest person you've worked with to date?
It's very
Denise.
easy. Yeah, Denise, who's actually the other partner who's not in this. So, but you know, she's the best person. Whenever it comes to any kind of difficult challenges and stuff, you know that she's got a really sharp answer.
Denise Chan. Yeah, she's awesome.
Most creative person you've worked with? A tricky one, this one.
Got to be Keelan, hasn't it? Sorry, cheese.
Yeah, our creative director is absolutely fantastic. Yeah, and actually, I think that, you know, in many ways, she's such a trooper, so committed. And we worked with her back at Engage Group Days, so it just goes to show you, you know, that kind of getting the band together type of thing, and you know, getting her back, I think, is just wonderful to work with her again. So I think she consistently, you know, I would define creative as someone who consistently can deliver at that kind of level, and I think that's not easy to do. So,
independent or network?
Indie.
Easy, independent.
Money or happiness?
Also easy.
Yeah, it could be happiness. Yeah, although I need money for that.
Twist or stick? Final question.
Oh, twist.
Everyday twist.
Brilliant. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.